Question 23, Don says, I am sorry for the confusion. Sometimes, as you say, sound vibration complexes are not very adequate. And I'm sorry. You made the statement in a previous session that the true adept lives more and more as it is. Will you explain and expand upon that statement? Oh, we get a juicy answer here. Ra says each entity is the creator. The entity, as it becomes more and more conscious of itself, gradually comes to the turning point at which it determines to seek either in service to others or in service to self. The seeker becomes the adept when it has balance with minimal adequacy, the energy centers, red, orange, yellow, and blue, with the addition of the green for the positive, thus moving into indigo work. I'll finish this because it's going to be packed. Ra finishes and says, the adept then begins to do less of the preliminary or outer work having to do with function and begins to affect the inner work which has to do with being. As the adept becomes a more and more consciously crystallized entity, it gradually manifests more and more of that which always has been since before time. That is, the one infinite creator. Beautiful. So Don's question here is that the true adept lives more and more as it is. There are so many things. Please, let me start with a caveat. I can only interpret this in my own language, which is non-duality. It may be limited for those who want to know more about the metaphysical interactions of all of this. I can only give you so far as I know, but my view is biased towards non-duality. So I'll talk about this from that point of view. Non-duality being, of course, the understanding that there is no separation, that there is only unity. And so from there is that I can talk because that's my experience. That's how I live. That's my resolution, or has been my resolution of seeking. Okay? So that is just the question itself already has a lot in it, right? Which is, it's not even the question, it's the statement that Ra made when they said, the true adept lives more and more as it is. You know, when we talk about accepting everything, being in full acceptance and understanding that you have no control, allowing, to flow, all these things refer to the same recognition. And that's the word. When you recognize that what you truly are is this pure consciousness, and that is that what's happening around, or from it's not even the point of view, but yes, you being pure consciousness, you perceive the senses. You see, mind and body are collapsed into consciousness. In other words, consciousness is the container of mind and body. You are that. You are not the mind and the body. The mind and the body appears within you. I know that sounds weird. But if you have taken the path with me, in the direct path, then you know what I talk about. You are the container of experience. See, experience is not happening to you. Experience is happening within you. See? And you can cease experience at any moment. And you can experience, or what I call imperience, yourself. Right? Because there's no external. There's only you and you. It's the self looking at itself. Consciousness or awareness being aware of itself. It's what we call samadhi. So, the adept lives more as it is. That's it. When you recognize this and you start applying this recognition to all your belief systems and your patterns of thoughts and so on, you naturally know that there is no other way to live but to what it is, you see? So can you explain and expand on that statement? Well, let's see what Ross says. Ross says, each entity is the creator. I may use a synonym of the creator for each entity is pure consciousness. I mean, creator goes beyond that, but let's just, for our purposes, let's use consciousness. Each entity is pure consciousness. The entity, as it becomes more and more conscious of itself, right, more aware of yourself, gradually comes to the turning point at which it determines to seek either in service to others or in service to self. So this is the adept, right? We're following what happens to the entity, to the mind-body-spirit complex in evolution. What happens to it as it becomes aware of itself? Well, there are two ways. You can either consider yourself God Almighty from the Old Testament, or you can become the universe. You are everything. So in the first one, it's the left-hand path, negative path, service to self path, or the right-hand path, positive path, the path of service to others. Very simple. The seeker, or the entity, mind, body, spirit complex, whatever you want to call it, the seeker becomes the adept when it has balance with minimal adequacy, the energy centers, lower, red, orange, yellow, and blue. This is for the negatives. And with the addition to green for the positive, thus moving into indigo work. So indigo work, first, you have to have, like they say, balance with minimal adequacy. In other words, you're not neurotic about yourself. You see, that's lower energy centers. And then green and blue, because you have to do indigo work. You will be limited to do indigo work, depending on how much activated or allow, which again, I don't want to get into discussions of energy centers here, but how much you have green and blue activated, which is very individual, I may say. Again, I was talking about love and wisdom being balanced, compassion and wisdom being balanced within you. Each one of us have a very unique configuration. So which one is it? Well, you have to discover it for yourself and be okay with it. You see, like some people tell me, oh, I'm not as compassionate as so many people like this and that and the other. My question is, why do you want to be like that? That's what's preventing you from seeing who you are, whatever level of compassion you have. Well, I'm only interested in myself and my family. Well, it's okay. You have a lot of compassion for yourself and your family, and yeah, and these people, that's perfect. I mean, it's even perfect to have pure love for the self. As long as you recognize that and you're in the service to self path, it's okay. So anything in between is perfectly fine. So that is, to me, minimal adequacy, to know where your compassion lies, where your love lies. The reason why negative entities don't activate the heart is because the heart sees everything as one. It sees no distinctions, whereas the negative entity has to see separation. So it ignores that. It ignores that energy, right? It just only focuses on the separation. So yeah, that's what makes you move into indigo work. No matter how balanced it is, you can say, I'm still a mess. Okay, great. But with whatever energy, imagine as a flow of water that is running through your energy centers. Even if it's trickling down to the indigo center, that's fine. That is recognition of, yes, non-duality, no polarity, law of one, all is one. You see? As long as you follow that, you're fine. Start trusting yourself if you're not already. Okay? Whatever, again, I cannot stress this enough, because this really, it really beats my heart when I read this. The seeker becomes the adept when it has balance, keywords, with minimal adequacy. The energy centers, red, orange, yellow, green, and blue, because we're all talking about here the positive path. I'm sorry, you service to self people out there. I don't know much about that path. I can't help you. I can only help people who see everything as one. All right, so what else do they say? The adept then begins to do less of the preliminary or outer work having to do with function, with doing. You see, this is another thing that I've been stressing for the past years, is not about doing, it's about being. See, it's not about what you do, but about what you are. It's so easy to be, whereas it seems always exhausting and limiting to do in order to feel appropriate. Well, that's not how it works. It's you being. See, so the adept then begins to do less of the preliminary work, which is of doing, function, and begins to affect the inner work, which has to do with being. Keywords. As the adept becomes a more and more consciously crystallized entity, it gradually manifests more and more of that which it always has been since before time. So, before the punchline, as the adept becomes more and more consciously crystallized, so as more water flows through you, because guess what? You gradually stop being worried about, those things that concern you in the lower energy centers. And you begin to recognize that love that you have and that wisdom that comes through you, which again, it's your own love and wisdom. It doesn't have to be, wisdom is intellect and eloquency and all of these things. No, it has nothing to do with that. Some of the greatest sages had very little vocabulary, if vocabulary at all. So you see, it's not about wisdom. Is just how you perceive reality. Remember, wisdom, true wisdom, is love in manifestation. That is true wisdom, and I mean expressed, love expressed. That is true wisdom. That's why Ra says that once somebody activates their heart's blue energy center is immediately activated too. It's only awaiting its potentiation, its crystallization. So the more work you put into expressing yourself, whichever that, it could be art, it could be anything, just talking, helping people, whatever it is, you have to find that is you. It's all within you. That's your own game. You play that game. Nobody can tell you how to play it. So as more and more of this happens, crystallization, right, consciously crystallized entity, it gradually manifests more and more of that which it always has been since before time. What is that? One infinite creator. Now I can tell you that one of the things that happen through this process, this is by experience, is that there is a sort of natural peace that flows through you. It's not even peace as related to conflict. It's just a sort of equanimity that it doesn't have any more intensity. You see, that's another thing. You no longer have that intensity of, the positive or the negative. You are much more calm. You see, calm in that sense. Whereas before you were in the vibration, up and down, the peaks and the valleys of the wave. Now you are in that state of calmness, and that's to me how the one infinite creator feels. That doesn't mean that you're not experiencing anything. No, you are. And it's just beauty. You see, this is where true beauty is seen as anything. Anything is beautiful. Anything is beautiful. See, the view of the one infinite creator is pure awe. It's not, I became the one infinite creator, so now I have so much power over me and others, and well, that is the negative path. No, here is just awe at anything and surprise. Living in the unknown. You ever heard that? That's exactly how it feels. Living in the unknown. But you see, you're not fearful of the unknown because you know the unknown is what's making your life right now. And only you're suffering because you're trying to make the now from the past. That's the suffering. You're trying to weave the present with the past. No. The more you allow yourself to be, the more you feel comfortable. So there's a lot to talk about here because we're talking about a very deep subject, but you get the point. This is my only interest. This is why I get so excited with these questions. So we have more. Let's get to it.